Okay, we will start. I'm just checking the internet speed to see that if speed is fully up, and it look like. Okay, so yeah, speed is okay, and voice is going out, and everything looked okay. Yeah, right. So, okay. So, let's get started. Hi, I'm Min from Pundit, and this program is supported by Vancouver Daily Newspaper and as well as by myself. Well, I'm doing the lectures, right? So here now, the as I said from the last week, then we are gonna go into the how to use the references, and that's a second method, which I call a flowchart method. But you don't have to worry about the differences in the flow methods, and then you can mix and match, and you can use any strategy. But the reason that I separated is because it's a more organized way. So if you follow this and then if you add your subject into this methodology and then you follow these steps, then you should be able to build your concepts easier than ever. Okay. Now let me just go over that what it looked like from the last week. So basically, once you started building the concepts, if you have something like here, right? And then you started from like water is tasteless and odorless, colorless, and transparent material, and no with no specific shapes or something like that. Now, what you need to do is you need to constantly build the concept. For example, the concept is something like you can think of in this way. If you can provide reasonings or processes or data, then you have the concept. Even if it is you something that you took over from the classes that you took before, that's okay. Still, it is concept because the teachers or professors conceptualize all the knowledge and then deliver it. Because of that, you can take those concepts in your brain as they wanted to deliver. But in this case, you have to remember, it is you who need to build the concept. So the ones that you already have some, then that's the one that you can use it, but that's not gonna give you much of the room for you to build the concept further, okay? Because you have to go deeper. So here, for example, let's say you know what does a taste look like, right? You learned about the taste before, and then you have the concept, then you state it. And color, if you don't, then build the concept, and then you state and as you do. And then once you do that, then you merge them into one sentence, something like here, and then develop your writing skills. This is how you do, okay? Now. There's one more these steps to have your your concepts to expand further. That is using the references. And Using the references is my suggestion is that you need to minimize use of the references because if you started just as soon as you have some idea and then you kind of go into the references directly, then your brain, instead of you are relying on your own brain to develop these conceptualization processes in your brain, what you do is you are relying on something that already exists. That means it's the same as asking the other people to teach you how to do this. As I should have said this before, right? So if you ask questions about knowledge, so you ask, what is this? Or can you teach me? Or something like that. These are the ones that make yourself passive from other people, even if you are not, then the other people will consider you as a person that who is passive, who's not actively working or actively engaging, and they would think of you as a person saying that, oh, you don't know anything, so you are the person with the lack of knowledge, and at the same time because you didn't even explore how to do, and you are the person that who didn't know what to do if unless being taught. So like a babies. That's the impression that you're gonna get from the other people. Okay. So if you go in that direction, then the your life is not gonna be easy because people think of you as a some person that who they need to teach, then you're like being treated like little kids, okay? And if that happens in the job, then you'll be the one being getting into the trouble, all right? So now here, there's one more step which is with the water. Now this time it is using the references. References is the one that when you have no idea, for example, in the water. And then color, you can observe it, but there's something that you can observe, right? Water, in case of a hydrogen burn, you cannot really observe it because it is a theory how the water molecules are formed in, I mean, water molecules are composed with the arranged together, right? That's the hydrogen bond, and it is proven with many different experiments and then angles of the water molecules and the and then all these tools that the scientific tools proven that waters are forming hydrogen bond, and then the heat, when you boil the water, you heat it up, and then water molecules are evaporating. And the reason that it is evaporating is because the hydrogen bond in between the water molecules are breaking down. So heat and hydrogen bonded energy level is matching together. Because of that, the hydrogen bond can be broken, and then water can evaporate. So these are the information you might not know from the beginning. And there's no way for you to build the concept around it unless you really getting into the more details about evaporation processes and think about what makes the evaporation and then you relate with the heat. So let me show you with this one. So for example, water molecule with the heat you have cooktop and then heat up the one of the pot with the water in here, and then you started to observe that the water molecule is turning into the steam and it evaporates. Then you started going in, okay, water molecule, okay, that's the heating up, and heat makes the water evaporate. Then what does the heat do to the water? Maybe breaking down into the smaller pieces. Yes, that's what it does in literally, right? So by providing the energy, now water molecule is being broken down, the hydrogen bond is broken down. But in the initially with the observation, you cannot really tell that what is it is a hydrogen bond and what is the characteristic of the hydrogen bond. Only thing you could see is evaporation and heat, and that's the only thing. Changes in the state, right? So with these ones, now the because you cannot go back like about 100 years and back couple of 100 years or 100 years and going back, and then you cannot redo entire processes because to find it out, the water is H2O and it forms the hydrogen bond. This requires like a what? You have to bury yourself in the library and go through entire process of the science and then to get some idea, right? So you cannot really do it. And in the time, uh, if you spend like that much of the time in studying the water, unless you're a scientist, then if you are really studying the water as in the science fields, then you might have to go through because to get some more information out of the journals or papers that published. But other than that, you are not gonna be spending time on here much, right? Because you are using these as a tool to develop your thinking processes. So you don't want to go back and then redo the research, right? You don't want to go back and then the revisit entire the history of the science. There's an easier way, right? So this is what today's the lecture is about. Okay. So now you have to look up the information from the references. So you go on and then read the references. For example, Wikipedia or something like that. Let me bring up the Wikipedia and show you what it look like first. Okay, so remove this and water definition, and I'm looking for Wikipedia. Why is it that okay? So definition from Wikipedia, right here. Yeah. So in the Wikipedia, you can read something like this, right? Okay, so something like this. You have water is inorganic, transparent, tasteless, odorless, and near colorless, and chemical substance, and blah blah blah. A lot of them, right? But as you take a look at here, and then you will find the many the knowledge that you didn't really or you are not really familiar about. Something like a chemical substances. What is a chemical substances? What is the hydrosphere or fluids or chemical formula and covalent bonds and hydrogen atoms and the molecules. These are probably new for many of the students who started at the beginning. And well, many of you probably, if you went through some of the education, then you probably know by now. But still, these are new concepts, new knowledge. I shouldn't say it is concept because it hasn't been conceptualized yet, right? So the first thing is you notice that transparent or tasteless or odorless, these are all same that came from observation, right? So we had this in here from up here with the observation. Now with the observation, you already have some of them. Then what you need to do is you need to remove the knowledge that you already conceptualized. So colorless or some those kind of things, you remove it. Then what's left? You have hydrogen, oxygen, fluid, or so on. Okay. So let's say this is new. I didn't know what is a hydrogen, and I didn't even know that the periodic table. Then where you can start. Okay. That's how you do. First step is ask questions to define what is oxygen and what is fluid. And when as you ask this, then you might start thinking, okay, how do I find the oxygen? Okay, I don't know. I have to go looking into the dictionary or something like that, right? Yeah, and fluid. Well, let's say fluid, you had some idea. Okay, it doesn't have the real shape and it moves with the external force. Like for example, with the water, you shake it, then water moves, right? External force, and the shape of the water is determined by the container. So, so yeah, that's what the fluid is about. So now you can describe it by observation. So if you could find it out what if you can conceptualize the knowledge by observation, then you have to do that first before you use the references. Okay, as I said, you need to use the references in the minimum to in order for you to develop the brain processes, thinking processes. Okay. Now, if you don't have, then now this is the time you started going on. So what is oxygen? What can you do? Right? The way that you can do is, let me blow up a little bit more so that we can see a little bit better. Okay. Then you have to go to the reference and take a look at it. And from a reference, it says oxygen is a chemical element. Okay, what is chemical? What is element? So you have no idea because it is not your field. This is you are new to the field, for example. Then what you do, you can use this is one of the methods that I suggest to use, which is a flowchart. The reason that using the flowchart is because if you once go through, okay, if you are done with this flowchart, then you can merge them in the backward. If you just randomly write it down, then you might lose the track. So the flowchart is the one methodology that I suggest. So let's say oxygen. What is oxygen? Chemical element. What is the element? Element is atom that cannot be broken further by means of a chemical method. Then, well, I didn't deal here as a chemical, but what is atom? Then you go on and on and on, and then search, and then you look through them. But this is shouldn't be the end. Okay, you look through and then still you might have some difficult time to digest this information. Smallest constitution of ordinary matter. What does that mean, right? So smallest constitution. Well, it can be smallest piece. Then how to be defined? So there are still need to be defined even with the atom, but that's okay. You can go as far as you could digest. And because this smallest constitution, think about the atom. Is it smallest? Not anymore, right? Nuclear reaction is makes breaks down the atom and then makes it into separate them into the neutrons and the hydrogens, and that happens. Or fusion by hydrogen and the helium, you fuse by the fusing the hydrogens and you create the helium. Is that right? That's nuclear fusion, right? Yeah, something like that. So there are more in depth, but let's just go as far as you can could go. And you dig up the dictionary or the any references and you go through. Once you go through, then you merge backward. So this is what it says, and this is what it does. Okay, you merge this information in the backward. So basically, you are replacing the word atom with the one that you found from the reference, and then element is atom. Then you replace the elements with the one that you merged from the element, and then go on, and then you replace it. Finally, oxygen with the concepts that you build from here, right? By merging them in this way. Then now you have this concept, and still some of the part you might have some difficulties to really digest the information, but that's okay for now. Because these specific kind of like in depth, you are not gonna go into the more detail. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to they train your brain to do these thinking processes. When you do these thinking processes, when you apply that to your field, then it'll be a lot easier. Let's say if your study area is business, then with the business, if you started doing this, then when you merge it, then you will get you can conceptualize those ones. But science is a little bit more difficult. And then that's where the instructors or teachers need to be involved in, right? Once this is done, then you merge them and you connect them together, okay? And as I said, always put them in the writing, okay? And when you merge it, I recommended this before, right? The Once you write it, leave it for a while, for like a couple of days or sometimes even a week. And what you need to do is you just put it there and don't even think about it. After that, in about a week, come back and then read it again. Then you will find there's some the logical connection is weak, a weaker part that the logical connection is not really making the sense. Then you rewrite. Okay. One of the recommendation that I give is writing a diary. Diary is one that the generally that you are writing, but mostly what happens is that for the in when people are writing diary, let me just go with this blackboard for now. So when you're writing, okay, the diary, the people what they do is they write from day of starting from the day and then all the way to the end in sequential way, the time as a timeline. Or some of the people write some specific event about some specific event. And generally, people don't go back to the reread the diary, right? Because it is mostly stated as kind of like a in the way that you wanted to express, right? But my suggestion is not diary like a regular diary. You need to put reasonings. Okay, what that means is that let's say you played tennis in the afternoon, right? Then you put data in it. Data meaning that to play tennis, then there's a reason that you choose to play tennis. And second, there's a the playground, the tennis court that you choose. There should be a reasoning. For example, if it is raining, then you choose indoor, right? So with these, those are the data. Okay. With this data, you provide reasoning. I played indoor tennis today because it was raining out there. Okay. This is what the reasoning is about. You don't want to simply go like, I played tennis. That's not the how you describe. So describe in detail, meaning that you provide all the reasonings with the data together, and then until the process of your decision making. Okay. The time that you make this decision. So for example, if you decided to meet your friend after the school or something, then why? If you if your reason goes like because I need to I'm bored. I need some friends to talk to. This is not what you wanted to write in your diary because there's no reasoning. Okay, because I'm bored, that is your issues. There's no that means that later on when you are meeting your friends, you are bored, then you kind of like rely on the friends that when you need something to do, right? So as I said from the early this class, I mean today's the lecture, that if you are looking for the If you are looking for the knowledge, for example, let's say you are asking questions that what should I do? Can you teach me? These are the ones that are showing other people to showing other people that you are not strong enough, you are not independent enough, you always need something. So people listening to these questions will look down on you, right? This is the same principle applies in here. If you show that the reasonings that you are meeting someone because you need them, then what happens? Your friends will know they are valuable to you. If they want to realize that they are valuable to you, then they will start looking you down because you need them more than they need you, right? So regions, when you provide the regions, you should be independent from the providing the reasonings. I am bored because of that. I need a friend. That reasoning will make you dependent to the people that who you are meeting. Then from your brain, they are really valuable. If you're inside of your brain that the value is higher than you think, then those people you will be attached to. Then you will be hold on to them, and you don't want to lose them. Then think about it. If there are two people, and the one person don't need you, but if you need this person more, then you will have to follow this person's order. Whenever he or she asks you to do something, even if you don't like it, you will have to do it because you don't want to lose this. When this happens in the like a sales or negotiation, especially in the negotiation, so let's say this is you and this is your business partner, and then you're sitting in a table and then negotiating. You know what is the key in the negotiation? You should find the need of the other person that you are talking to. And meeting the needs is the one that they give you the power to hold the lead the negotiation. Okay, but think about it. If you show that you need this person more than this person needs you, what happens? Let's say you're trying to sell this pen to one of your business partner, and then you try to put these ones in their shelves, and then to have the customers coming in and then see that your product better, and then have increased chance for them to buy your product compared to others. And then you are negotiating. Now, if you are as you are desperate, then you will try to persuade this person to say that please put this into your shelf, your store, in the shelf of your store, so that people can see it. Then what happens? You will have to pay the price. If they want, and they'll go like, okay, we'll put it that there, okay? But you have to do this, you have to do this, and then you have to give us some more money or something like that because we are doing you a favor. And if you go to any type of the markets, you will see those kind of the marketing strategy, okay? And whoever pays a little more higher commission or whoever gives more the better deals, then their product is kind of arranged in the most well visible part so that the customers can to attractive customers more, right? So this is what happens in out there in the negotiation. And so when you negotiate something, the first thing is that you don't want it to show that you need them more than they need you. That's the first step. To do that, you have to remove your need. But even in your diary, think about it, right? You're writing a diary, and then you go like, okay, I was so bored, so I needed my friends to be with me to discuss about over in coffee or something. That means you're already started kind of like relying on other people, not being independent. Okay, let's say I had to play tennis because there's nothing I can do. That means you are relying on the tennis to be to be more kind of enjoying the day or something like that, right? So in your diary, this is the reason that you need to write the diary. Once you write it, and as you write the diary, you might not notice that what you are writing. You kind of like go on with the days all list by times or any activities that you enjoyed. You probably didn't notice how dependent you are to the other people or to the activities that you are doing. So the reason that or I suggest to you to write the diary is because not just to record your day. That's not the goal of the diary. What I say here. What you need to do is once you write it, okay, let's say this is a diary that you wrote today. Then after in about a week or 3, 4 days or about a week, what you need to do is you need to go back and revisit. So the diary that you wanted to write is like about 2, 3 times a week, not every day, right? 2, 3 times a week, and then so that you can go back to the record and reread it. When you go back and then reread it, if you go like you just kind of like agree what it happened, and you go like yeah, that was right. I did that because I was bored. If you do that, then there's diary doesn't do much of the much of for your brain development. Okay, when you go back and revisit the diary, you need to analyze it. Just like what you do is you do analyze your own writing from these thinking processes. So what you need to do is you go back and you read through and check if you have any dependencies in your writing. For example, I needed someone because of this. I needed this activity because of this. I needed this because of this. Any dependencies. Okay. Except any and then these dependencies because that the reason is other than yourself. I should say it in this way, right? Other than yourself. For example, let's say I met my friend because I was nothing to do. I met my friend because I needed some support from for my homework. I needed I wanted to play tennis because I didn't I didn't have any other activities or something like that. These are all coming, the reason is other than yourself. With these ones, you will have to rethink. Okay. Then now after that, the from the for the future, what you need to do is you need to change all the reasonings for yourself. For example, I met my friend to ask he or she about some something that we have in activities that we did together. Okay, that means that I'm the one who is curious about, and I'm the one who's asking because to find it out the reasons behind, right? I played tennis because I wanted to see that if my swing, the way that I swing to the how do you say? I don't know how to swing, but the way that I swing, hit the ball in a correct way. Or I wanted to play tennis because that if I wanted to see if I can hit the ball, the target the ball into the in the middle of the racket or something like that. So these are the ones that the questions for you, the reasons for you to develop the skills, right? And when you the regions to develop your skills, then you can think of the ways to improve yourself constantly, right? So if you think about it, if you are playing tennis, you played tennis, and let's say, okay, last time what I did it was that when I played tennis, the ball was hitting the racket, the top part of the racket, and then that makes the difficult for me to control. Now, I play tennis today. I'm going to play tennis today. It is raining, so I'm going to play tennis in indoor. And this time, I'm going to try to hit the ball a little bit, swinging the racket a little bit faster, so that to see if I can hit the ball in the middle of the center of the racket, center of the racket, or something like that. Then you will be able to constantly develop yourself. But if you are looking for the regions from others or the other people or other activities, because you simply because there's nothing for you to do, then well, you are not getting anything by writing the diary. It's just simply waste of the time. Well, it could work as a record for your future, and then you could go back and in the future that you could kind of like go flash your memory back into the time and go like, oh yeah, at the time I enjoyed the day. That would be the only the one that you could use, right? There's no improvement for you to actively engage and build, right? There's no skills to build, okay? And the same thing applies to everywhere. If any reasonings is from the one that other than yourself will make you dependent to them. Even if for the traveling, if you wanted to travel because you need some ventilation. Let's say you studied hard for the entire term and then you spend a lot of time in the library and now you need some time to travel. And this is just to forget everything that I spent and then refresh myself and then come back and then re-engage it. Then traveling doesn't have much of a meaning for your development. Why? Because the reason that you're traveling is you just simply get away from the situation and ventilate your emotions. There's no improvement. So because of that, even if you are traveling, you have to plan. Okay. So the way to plan is, for example, okay, I'm going to travel this area. And the reason that I wanted to go is that, for example, let's say Yellowstone. I don't know if you know that the Yellowstone in US that where the Wyoming it is in the Wyoming, right? Yeah. South Dakota and Wyoming it's in the border or Wyoming. I think it is in the Wyoming. For example, let's say Yellowstone, you wanted to travel there. Then before you go, you have to build the reasonings. Okay. Okay. Yellowstone, you look through the Yellowstone and then look through. Okay, it is a volcanic area. It is crater of the volcano. So basically, entire large area is once that it was the volcano erupted, right? The whole park is. It is that large, and it has hot springs, and then there's water shooting out, and then in the hot spring, the color is different and the rocks look a different color. And then the rocks are not actually the rocks, it is bacteria that which is a thermophile of the bacteria growing in the hot temperature, and they're the one that are showing the different colors or something like that. You started all this and then you started building the reasonings, okay, I wanted to see that what kind of a bacteria, the coloring the bacteria could provide, and I wanted to see that how hot the waters are boiling, what smell look like, what is the rock types in around in there, what kind of animal diversity in there, what kind of a plant diversity in there, or something like that. With these informations and then with the comparison with the geographic and then you want to see it there, but we observe with your own eyes and then you want to build all the data. Then after that you travel. Then when you go to the Yellowstone, then there's places for you to visit and there's animals that you want to observe, and then you try to find where to go to find the animals, and you observe the behavior of the animals, and all these things will, as you observe, information will getting into the brain, and then it will sitting in your brain longer than. Oh, it's already 5:10. Okay, so I will the wrap up in here. If you have any questions, you can write on the chat, and then next week we will go on with the connecting concepts. Okay, so connecting concept is the one that we're gonna go on with it. But today I'm going to wrap it up for from here. So basically, once you plan, then your brain has some information to observe. When you go there to observe, all the information that you are observing sitting in your brain. In the future, these will be the one that came out because they are conceptualized as a knowledge, and especially this conceptualization is very powerful because you are experienced. So experience means that the most strongest the conceptualization processes. Well, once you learn how to process this information and how to conceptualize this with your own brain, then you know how powerful this will be because you don't need it directly experience. You will be able to use your brain to experience. But still, experience is one of the very powerful concept building processes. That means as you go there and observe, everything will be conceptualized as you see. As your brain process the information in this way, then this information will stay longer in your brain and then they will be ready to use when it comes to for you to expand them. For example, rocks, right? If you look at the volcanic area with the rocks, then you will see there are what kind of rocks in there. And then when you have this, and when you take some sort of like a classes like a geography, then you will be able to see that the different stories of the rock cycle and animal with plant relationship and predation, like wolves or bears, like hunting the deers or something like that, and plant types and herbivores and relationship among them, and then pattern of their social interaction, something like that. Everything will come together. Then these are the ones that will be applied in the future for your life. Some of the people think like okay, so I studied about the social behavior of the animals, so what? But you have to think about what you're gonna do in your future. First thing, you're gonna deal with the people. People, they have patterns in their life. There is something that they like, and there is a reason. And if you are able to find it out, what is the reason of the animal behavior, you will be able to find out what would be the pattern of the pattern of the human life, where it comes from, what is behind the theory. Okay. Basically, you will be able to analyze the behavior of the people, because you know how to do with the animals or something like that. So all these methodology will come together and then provide you the synergic effect when you are out there working or engaging with other people or social life or even family or friendships. Okay, everything is included in there. So my suggestion is once again, you start writing the diary and analyze your own diary. In that way, you can see what stage you are, and then you can separate yourself from the other people, and then you actually engage yourself as a you can do all the activities to build your thinking process skills, brain power over time. Okay, if it is a sports, then you will be able to build your sports skills, right? And if it is the friendship, then you'll be able to build the skills of the friendship. And in order for you to do that, you should be independent. Okay, independent. The independence is that important, and then that's one of the part that you wanted to build. Okay, so they use the diary and then check the dependency of your life. If you are depending on other people in terms of the reasonings, then you won't be able to you wouldn't be your life in the future would be not very enjoyable, right? Because you need to build the skills over time to compete. As I said, in the human life, all interior life form are competing, and only winners could be taking the higher position, right? If you wanted to go up to the higher position, then you need to build skills to compete, okay? All right, since there's no questions today, I'm going to stop here and I will come back next week, okay? And as I said that the series of the streaming will be ending on June. So basically 25th, that's the June. Yeah, 25th will be the last streaming and then taking a couple of months of the break and coming back on September, okay? So and I'm sure that we can finish by connecting concept, the basic skills up to the connecting concept by the end of the June. Okay. All right then. I'll end it here. Okay. Bye. See you next week.